My name is Geoff.
My name is Ron.
And together we are the most mediocre podcasters alive. Welcome to a special recap edition of the Will Be Expertives. I am Geoff.
I'm Ron.
And today we are strictly talking our thoughts on the season that was and the season finale for the initial season of Legends of Tomorrow. So we are giving you full spoiler warning. This is going to be delving into complete details, so please have watched the entire show before that you go and check out our review of it. So with that, what'd you think, Ron?
I liked it.
Moving on.
On to The Flash.
With the Legends of Tomorrow finale, now I will be the first person to say it is not a perfect show, but what it is time travel with D-list DC characters, and you add that together and you get Jeff Crack.
Well, not only are they D-list DC characters, or even lower on some of them probably, but they're written very well for the most part.
Jonah Hex, badass.
Dude, Jonah Hex episode was one of my favorites.
It was awesome. I actually thought overall they did a really, really good job, much better than Arrow and The Flash 2, about how Legends of Tomorrow Season 1 had an ongoing plot.
Yes.
And the filler episodes, for the most part, felt like they actually were important for the overall plot. Arrow and Flash are awful about doing that.
When they have filler episodes, they feel like filler episodes.
Like... that Jonah Hex episode was a filler episode, but it still felt kind of
one of my favorites.
It was one of your
season.
favorites. Like, they did a really, really good job. And my biggest thing that I want to say about the Legends finale overall is it is very, very hard to write a satisfying conclusion to a story that has been drawn out for that long, because it was 16 episodes of Legends and also a two-parter prequel with the crossover setup. Mm-hmm. 18 episodes all about killing Savage. Yeah. So for them to still have a satisfying conclusion to that, I thought it was actually really well done, because usually when you drag something out that long, the conclusion is never satisfying enough as it's made out to be.
Yeah, and I think one thing that helped it, which kind of worries me for the next season, is the fact that it was a 16 episode order and not 23. Because I mean, they got 7 fewer episodes, so everything's a lot tighter.
Which you and I are on board. We wish every show was 10 or 13.
Yes.
I really think, especially, I think this new season of The Flash, it really would have helped it too. Legends.
We'll get into that later, though. Don't worry.
Legends, it was 16. I still really enjoyed it for the most part overall. I think 13 would have probably been a good number. Cut a little bit of the filler out, but it's still. I'm hoping. Like you just mentioned, it's still a 16-episode order. It's probably going to get bumped up because they did get good ratings off of it.
Yeah, so. I'm sure it's probably going to end up being like a 23-episode season.
The only way it'll remain the shorter runtime is if it's still reported like it was for this season, and that you can tell the budget was higher because they have so much going on in the action scenes.
Yes.
Maybe our hopes will be fulfilled in that they want to keep the production quality the same, so they'll have fewer episodes to spread the budget around.
You know, one thing I noticed also, speaking about the graphics and stuff, did you ever notice, I'm sure they probably did, but did you ever notice any reused scenes with the Wave Rider?
It was never glaring if they did.
I'm sure they did because they needed the money, but I didn't notice it.
But yeah, just at its core concept.
Yeah.
It is not a perfect show, but I think it'll end up being in my top 5 because it's time travel. You know, I fucking love time travel.
I don't think their explanations of how time and time worked is as good as Doctor Who, which is one of the things it's based on.
But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be, you know, and it was convincing enough. Like, I would buy into it.
And I think it actually, you know, I already mentioned before, I'm a DC guy when it comes to the comics at heart. I think the D-list and lower characters of the DC universe are more interesting than the Marvel characters.
Well, for one reason, you haven't seen as much of them as you have all the other A-list stuff. So
yeah, Justice League Unlimited, brilliant job of, you know, really digging deep, trying to find these characters that are interesting, but are just not given the time of day.
Yeah,
and I actually really, really appreciate how they were able to balance out their scripts, because they actually had a larger cast than like they do in the Avengers films. Like that's hard to do. Like how many people do you think they have in that team? Is like 7 or 8, something like that, including Rip. So to balance,
it was the Magnificent 8 was the name of the Jonah Hex one.
Like let's compare it to Arrow. Arrow can't even balance like the 4 or 5 members they have.
And you know the other thing too that I was going to bring up. It's funny you brought this up because this was the next thing I was going to bring up. And when it comes to their characters, Arrow and even the Flash are really bad about the characters doing something drastically out of character. Almost, if not every episode, probably every other episode, one of them says or does something that's just way out of left field for that character, at least the way it feels for me. They did some of that. They did a lot of that later with Adam.
I agree.
But for the most part, the characters basically stayed the same character throughout the show, even when in between episodes when writers changed between episodes and stuff.
And they did have some good development, but it never with Arrow, with Felicity and Diggle are basically broken characters now. They are broken characters for me. I get more frustrated watching that show, and that is why I quit. I was literally frustrated watching it.
You hung in there a lot longer than I did.
I gave them a more than fair chance. I got almost to the end of season 4. I was just like, you guys, it's not worth it.
I got to the first episode of season 4 and I just noped out.
And I should have gone the Ron route. I regret that 20 hours of my life I'll never get back. But yeah, let's dive in to the actual specifics of the finale.
Okay.
And the it was basically a 2-part finale, even though it was played over 2 weeks. So the setup, obviously, it's going to be all about killing Savage. And you don't get to see Savage die once. They kill that fucker 3 times, and they are all money, dude.
Yes.
The first one, they figure out Savage's plan. He's pretty much resetting the timeline back to the event that created him, Hawkgirl, and Hawkman. He is going to pretty much he's nuking and setting off those 3 meteor rock things simultaneously, right?
Yes, at 3 very specific points in history. So it would be like what the Doctor would say would be probably a flux or something.
It was because at those times, Thanagar and Earth were in alignment.
Yes.
So they have to kill him simultaneously so that he doesn't know their plan in the 30s, the 50s, and then modern day, I believe.
Yeah.
So they have Heatwave and Adam.
And they can't risk even one of these meteorites exploding.
Yeah.
Because it turns out they weren't meteorites. They're actually Thanagarian technology.
Because pretty much, I believe they were saying if even one of them goes off, the timeline isn't fucked up, but the world can be fucked up.
Yes.
So Mick and the Atom are in the 50s. Which one? No, it was... I forget whichever one, but it was Black Canary and Firestorm.
Yes.
Or White Canary, they call her now, Sarah. And then it was Rip with Hawkman and Hawkgirl and the other team, right? I don't think I'm missing anybody. And yeah, Sarah kills him by snapping his neck backwards with her staff. Badass.
Yes.
Fucking Heatwave sets his ass on fire.
Yes.
Also awesome. And then... they got a satisfying kill for both Hawkman and Hawkgirl and for Rip, because Hawkgirl does basically the killing blow on him, but Rip gets to basically, throw his
blow.
He gets the final nail in the coffin. He throws his ass after he's bleeding to death into the electrical fence. All fucking satisfying. And I loved what you told me over text in that we were talking about the Legends finale, and you said Arrow can't kill one person one time correctly, and they killed Savage 3 times,
and it was satisfying.
All satisfying every time. And I love the fucking scene when Heatwave comes back to Rip and Hawkgirl.
That was one of my favorite lines.
I wanted to kill him again. It was awesome.
Also, one of my favorite moments is actually almost cliche nowadays, but they pulled it off, and it was actually, I don't use this term often, but it's actually pretty boss when they pulled it off. It was when Rip, I don't remember if he got shot or what, and he tumbled over the edge of the building. I was just like, and the Wave Rider will catch him, which it did, but just the image of that and the pose he's in when it comes back up was actually a pretty cool moment.
Which we knew Arthur Darvill was a good actor from Doctor Who, but he is awesome in this show.
Yeah.
Him getting to have the time of day, shows how good he is.
I felt like he was underutilized, but he's probably the most expensive person there. And the times that they did utilize him, he was pretty fucking awesome. The Jonah Hex episode,
In particular, he was.
I was gonna say the reason why it was one of my favorites was not just the way they did Jonah Hex, but the way they did him also, and his tie-in with Jonah Hex.
I love his. He has his
backstory
wardrobe.
with him.
His
And his
wardrobe is
wardrobe.
patterned after Jonah Hex. Amazing.
Well, it wasn't just patterned after him. That was Jonah's jacket.
Yeah,
remember?
his dust jacket.
He said something like, "My jacket."
One of
looks
my
good on
favorite
you."
episodes too was the Firefly one.
Yes.
Where they were captured by the basically like rogue mercenary squad, and it was led by Rip on the ground team. Like really cool.
Yeah.
I actually didn't end up. I didn't end up having an issue with Rip being underutilized because this show easily could have had Rip not do a fourth of the shit that he does because he is basically the leader. You know.
Yeah.
Because like what they could have done is they
It's
could
just
have.
the thing that when I say that, you know, he's in every episode. He's a star in every episode, but most of the time he stayed back on the Wave Rider while they went out into the field. And I would have liked to see him more in the field, but when he was out in the field and doing shit, it was always awesome.
I do give him a little bit of a pass because, as we mentioned previously, just how many characters they have to balance is incredibly difficult. And they also have to satisfy the fans because the people who are coming to the show have been established to all of these characters from Arrow and The Flash. And to satisfy the fans, you have to have a certain amount of people like Captain Cold and Heatwave. You have to deliver on that. You have to have, a good amount of Firestorm. That was an important character from The Flash.
Yes.
And then, like, the Atom has to get his good share because a lot of people really like Brandon Routh from Arrow. So, like, I do give him because, like, you're right. He is underutilized for a portion of the season, but when you realize like how easily it could have gone off the rails with this show, I thought they did a fabulous job at how it ended up. And like you said, like each death of Savage was incredibly satisfying. That actor was amazing the whole time.
Yes,
easily I think, other than Tom Cavanaugh in the first season of The Flash, I think the Savage actor is the best villain they've had.
Yes,
and yeah, I really liked it.
He could be intense.
He really
and the guy that played Vandal Savage was very good at knowing how to,
Casper Crump. Just to give him a quick shout out, I found him on IMDb.
He was very good at like line delivery, and he knew how to punctuate things just right. That even the most simplest line he could have could still be very creepy. Or it could be intense
and
or whatever.
Sinister.
Yeah, and sinister. He knew just how to deliver his lines, and his facial expressions always matched the way he was delivering his lines.
That type of character can also easily go over the top, and I never felt like he went over the top with it. He walked that line perfectly of being a crazy son of a bitch, but not being a cliche crazy character.
I got the feeling that he was enjoying the fuck out of being Vandal Savage.
That's pretty much what every person you hear in acting, they say, like, the most fun you'll ever have is being a villain in like a movie or TV show. Let's just My problems with my only problems with the show overall were the romance between the Atom and Hawkgirl.
That got painful at times.
I could not care less. I was just like when it was happening, that was like check Twitter time. It's like I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
I just move on. And it sucks that like they feel because they're on the fucking CW, they feel like they have to have that because they're doing it with the Flash too.
It was still a better love story than Twilight.
It really was. Right now, it was a better love story than Oliver and Felicity. I can tell you that, dude. That got fucking. You want to talk painful? Talk to me about Felicity, dude.
Dude, the few snippets of Arrow that I caught that season, it seemed like anytime Felicity was on screen or Stephen Amell was on screen, they're just like, "Oh, I can't believe I have to say this line."
Yeah, like it was almost as painful for them as it was the viewer.
Yeah, pretty much.
We talk about fucking ballsy. Was them killing Captain Cold?
Yeah, it was.
Threw me for a loop because I guaranteed you, I would have bet my life.
I just knew in the next episode they devised some way to save him by like time travel or something.
Yeah, I would have bet my life that either Rip or the Atom were going to be the ones to die.
Yes,
and then for them, you're like, holy shit, they killed like everyone's favorite is Captain Cold.
Not only that, the first time it changed to Heatwave, I was like, oh shit, no. And then it changed to Captain Cold. I was like, oh fuck, no!
Because I don't know if you mentally went through this, but in my mind when I was watching that episode, you knew they weren't going to probably kill the Atom because that's who they revealed in the Flash Forward who was going to die. So I was like, well, they're going to switch it.
Yeah.
And then when it switched to Heatwave after they'd had the conversation, between like Rory and him, and they had the setup before in episodes prior of how the Atom took the beating for him when they were in the past in the prison. They had a lot of brilliant setup to where I was like, man, this sucks. I love Heatwave, but that's a cool way to go out. And then Captain Cold was like, no, you were my boy, Blue. No,
he wears blue. Dude, you're my boy, Blue.
And then and like you said multiple times, like they straight up take the Ultron line and deliver it 10 times better.
Dude, yeah. Not only was his line delivery of "there are no strings on me," which 1,000 times more appropriate than it was in Age of Ultron, and his delivery was as good as Spader's, probably better because Spader wasn't nearly as sinister as he's made out to be in the trailers. But I also really like that whoever the fuck that writer was that had Captain Cold and Heatwave and the Flash, and they just had Batman 66 level pun after pun after pun, and we're like, stop with the puns. They gave him puns in this show, and they were all gold. Every one of them.
Yeah.
Like my favorite one, the only one that I straight up remember was, "Whew, that was cold even for a Russian."
So good. Yeah, pretty much every single line that Wentworth Miller says the entire season is gold. One of my all-time favorite scenes in fiction is him and Savage in the Wave Rider.
Yes.
When they're yelling at each other in the hallway, and Savage is like, "Who are you to mess with me, Vandal Savage, destroyer of empires?" He's just like, "Leonard Snart, robber of ATMs."
And then it charges him. See, here's the thing. I don't know what Wentworth Miller's inspiration was for the way he delivers Captain Cold's lines.
It's so specific.
It's very specific, and the way he does his facial expressions and everything, there has to be an inspiration for that somewhere.
Or a combination of inspirations.
If you watch Prison Break or anything else, that's not the way he acts. So I don't know what inspired that.
Yeah, I'd be curious if anyone's interviewed him about that character. But
but I mean, whatever it was genius because it gave him it just gave him that je ne sais quoi that the other characters didn't have.
And the dynamic with him and Heatwave was cool. Heatwave had a lot of cool character things, like the Kronos thing was cool.
Yes.
His development from being kind of idiot Heatwave to he ended up being like he goes from being like idiot thief Heatwave to basically kind of like
Snart level.
He became worn down and cynical from being alive for as long as he was, because they have the explanation of like he doesn't even know how old he is now because of how long he was doing shit for the Time Masters. Like that's really cool.
Yeah. Also, I liked the timey-wiminess of that reveal. Because, he was Kronos the entire time.
In scenes with Heatwave.
He
shooting at himself at points. Like, it's brilliant.
I said that was very Doctor Who, the way they did that.
And then we need to quickly talk about, before we forget, in the finale, after they kill Savage and Mick goes to see Snart in the past, was beautifully done.
Oh, I know.
It hits you right
in... It wasn't as much in the feels as what S.H.I.E.L.D. did with the Bobby and... what's his name?
Hunter
send-off. But it was up there.
It was beautifully done.
And the Wentworth Miller in that scene, again, brilliant, because he's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
He's totally sold, like, who the fuck am I talking to right now?
Yeah.
And then Heatwave really sold, like, that line that about got me choked up was like, you may not think you're a hero, but you're a hero to me.
Yeah.
I was like...
Coming from one of the two guys on the team that didn't want anything to do with being a hero.
They went on the fucking Wave Rider to steal shit.
Yes.
And, man, I also really, really loved how it's set up that Rip is going out. It's straight, like, literally flying his ship into the sun. He's going out. They have the thing where he gets to basically be with his family as he's about to die. And it looks like they're about to go to commercial break. And wait. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And then, Gideon says, like, I don't feel like, I don't
feel like dying.
I don't feel like dying. He's like, you know what? I don't either.
Yeah.
Brilliant turning that trope on its head.
Then, that also felt very Doctor Who to me. It actually reminded me of like a combination of the Matt Smith send-off and Matt Smith flying the Pandorica into the TARDIS explosion. It reminded me of like a combination of those two, which is ironic because the Matt Smith seasons is the one he was in.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I know. I really liked that because when he did start doing that, I was like, really, come on, guys. And then, like you said, they turned it on its head. But
I appreciate any time you're able to pull off a twist of a trope.
Yeah,
because it's like one of the reasons Whedon is because he's the master at that.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the setup for season 2?
Let's go into that because one of my favorite things also was how badass when they all turn like the badasses they now are because they killed the immortal tyrant and start going to the Wave Rider, that all of a sudden there is a second Wave Rider that's on fire crashing out of the sky and lands, or it doesn't land, it falls right in front of them. And good old dude from the Justice Society, Rex Tyler. Not a character I'm super familiar with, but I know the name when I fucking hear it. Walks out and he's like, "Oh, you're right where you said you'd be." And they're like, "What?" And he's just like, "Don't get on the Wave Rider because if you do, you die." And they're like, "How do you know?" "Because you sent me."
And I am Rex Tyler of the Justice Society. And then Jeff's brain. I love Our Man, dude. I think they're going to do some cool.
It's a cool concept.
Shit. He's a brilliant character. He's an awesome concept.
I'm not super familiar with him, but I know that he has his power for an hour. Right? That's where it comes from.
He had originally. His only power was he had superpowers, your standard superpowers for an hour a day because his body can only physically withstand the chemical that gives him his powers for an hour per day. And then later he actually had a power added on where he could see an hour into the future.
Oh, yeah?
So they're probably going to do that, obviously, with time travel shit. That's an awesome concept, too. I just cannot fucking wait to see what they do with him, not only, but like which Justice Society characters they pick.
Yeah.
They're so good.
There's a pretty large repertoire to pick from in Justice Society, right?
Justice Society, if you're unfamiliar, is basically the OG version of the Justice League starring all of the old school DC characters from like the 40s and 50s, stuff like that. It was like the Justice League before there was a Justice League, pretty much.
Not only does that give them an entirely different toy box to reach into, because, I mean, there's no way that the DC universe is going to be opening that toy box at all, probably. Because no one will know who those characters are. But because some of them are probably permanently locked into the 40s and 50s, it still works because it's a time travel show.
Exactly. Another thing I wanted to give them props for is a huge problem with Arrow is they always found a way to keep the wrong characters and get rid of the ones they should have kept. Getting rid of Hawkman and Hawkgirl after they were the focal point of season 1, and keeping Sarah and not letting her go back to Arrow, which she easily could have because of the events of that show. I was incredibly pleased because I had a feeling what was going to happen because of the events in Arrow that she was going to go back.
Yeah.
So happy they kept her on the show because I like that character and I wouldn't have been able to enjoy her character anymore because I've quit that other show.
Yeah.
So that was brilliant, and I cannot fucking wait to see what they do with next season. Is there anything else you think we missed?
We didn't talk about Thanagarian Invasion.
That was another setup. They didn't really talk about it so much because they were really focused on the Savage aspect of it in this episode.
It was more setup for next season.
But in the penultimate episode, there was a lot of setup where basically they were saying that the whole Time Master agenda was we're letting Savage be who he is because the world needs a unified force to be able to fight out the Thanagar invasion. And as soon as they said Thanagar invasion, Jeff Geekmind, boom, amazing. If it's half as good as a Justice League cartoon, it'll be incredible because that was one of the coolest parts of that cartoon.
I feel like there might be a lot of inspiration from that because...
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this show is the Justice League Unlimited minus Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Like, it's a lot of the C-listers, which makes it cool, you know?
Yeah.
It has...
and it gives it almost unlimited potential because, you know, you can write Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman however you want, but because they are so beloved in the comics, you still have to stick on... like almost like a GPS track on the ground. You have to follow the comics to some extent. You can't really leave the confines of them. No one gives a shit if you do what these characters did in the comics or not.
And it gives it, and not only is it, you know...
you can rewrite these characters however you want.
And not only is it, you know, like Doctor Who and like Guardians of the Galaxy, but it has a splash of Suicide Squad. You can kill Snart.
Yeah.
You can kill the most beloved character in the show, and that's what makes it so good. You cannot kill, for good, Barry Allen or... Oliver and Arrow. You just can't. You know,
Yeah.
it'd be like they can't kill Batman in a Batman movie. You know, he's safe. So I just think it's really, really well done. I cannot wait for season 2. I thought they did a brilliant job, which is very hard to execute, satisfyingly in closing this current season storyline while also properly teasing the next season.
It had a conclusion to it and a cliffhanger at the same time. You know, here's the thing: if it didn't get picked up for season 2, I'd be bummed out, but I wouldn't be
You wouldn't feel
pissed
cheated,
off,
yeah.
and I wouldn't feel cheated. So yeah, I really appreciate them, because honestly, they wouldn't have known if they're getting picked up for another season or not.
For a while,
So-
it was a question mark because they were by far the most expensive show, and it shows like when they have those sprawling action scenes.
Yeah.
And dude, the Legends of Tomorrow fight scenes and the fight scenes on The Flash have completely ruined all of the Arrow fight scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Because by comparison, you're like, this is dog shit.
Yeah.
Like in Legends, they had a badass moment in the Jonah Hex episode where the Atom becomes a bullet, shoots himself through a dude. I was like, God damn, that just happened. And an Arrow, oh, spoiler alert, he Chuck Norris drop kicked a guy. Good on you, Arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's completely no comparison.
By the way, I want to throw this out there. I don't remember them ever doing this in Arrow, but I love how the Atom carries his suit around in his pocket.
That's really he actually has like a little container
Yeah.
for it too, like a little almost like pocket glasses container type of thing.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I also like too how they can have almost like a type thing where like someone else brings it to him.
Yes.
So he can be separated from his suit and still have it. It's really, really cool. I'm scrolling through all the characters. See if there's anything else. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, nothing in particular. I said the Thanagarian invasion I was really happy with.
Yeah,
so I
I'm
wanted
stoked
to
for
mention
that. Super stoked for that. But yeah, I think with that, fucking awesome. I already said it's pretty much going to be in my top 5 for the year. It's going to be like a lot of crazy shit's going to happen for it to be bumped out of my top 5 because I really, really liked it. Like I said, it is complete Jeff Crack. They did a great job. I cannot be more thrilled for season 2.
Yes,
So yeah,
I agree.
I think with that, we're going to call it for our season 1 review of Legends of Tomorrow. If you'd like to check us out more, please like and subscribe. You get all of our content, all Let's Plays, reaction shows galore. Please check out our description. We actually have Facebook and Twitter links below. And if, most importantly, you know anyone else that might also like our content, we'd really, really appreciate the share. With that, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Captain Ron.
We will see you next time.